Good morning. I just want to go over for you how the assignment for today is going to work. We left off last week going through the powers of Congress. Um, I know it's intense, and if it's intense learning it, I think sometimes we have to ask the question, how intense was it to put this down on paper in the first place? Especially when there was no guarantee that the work that was going to be done by these men was actually going to work. Um, they put in all this effort with the hopes that this document would last, and you're living proof that it has. So when we went through, we started with the power to tax, borrow money, and we went through 17 of them. Now, the 18th one was the one that you watched a couple of other teachers teach. And I just want to go over one more time what the necessary and proper clause is. So if you think of a hair binder or a piece of elastic and you lay it on your desk, it's just going to be the circle that it's formed in. And so that's kind of what the framers were doing, is they were creating the circle of powers that Congress was going to be allowed to exercise. And what they said is that Congress would have the ability to make all laws. Now, we know that's what Congress's power is. They make laws. But they could have left it at that, and that could have given Congress some real power and potentially unlimited power just to make laws. But they put restraints on them when they said when they're necessary and proper. So that's where the term necessary and proper clause comes from. So Congress makes laws which are necessary and proper for carrying out their powers. Okay. Whoops, I think I did something wrong here. For carrying out their powers. So if we think about what we just went through, 17 different specific things Congress can do. They end with the idea that here's your piece of elastic sitting on your desk, piece of a rubber band, a hair binder, and we don't know what the future is going to hold, so we're going to allow this circle to get bigger as you make laws based on any of the 17 things we've listed to carry out the responsibilities, because they basically said, we don't know what the future is going to hold. We don't know what our currency is going to look like. We don't know if we're going to be attacked by Great Britain again and we're going to have to go to war. They had no way of knowing specifically what Congress and the laws that they would make, what they would be. And so they put in this insanely crazy disclaimer that says, from this point forward, Congress can make any law that is tied to expanding on the powers we have listed in Article 1, Section 8. Okay, so I wanted to make sure we went over that one more time. Now, today you're going to be working on an assignment that is going to look somewhat similar to this. And what you're going to find is that down the left-hand column, you are going to have 40 different acts of Congress. 40 different laws that over the course, anywhere from 1790 all the way through, 2023, Congress has made these laws. And your job is to read what the title is, and the basic summary. And then your job is going to be, using your notes, determine which specific power Congress is using when they made this law. So let's take this example that I've put here for you. So I'm just going to highlight so we can keep the focus here. The example I'm giving you is the Selective Service Act of 1940. Okay. I can have an idea what that means, but I'm going to read the summary. This law that Congress passed in 1940 said that all men aged 21 through 35 have to register for the draft. Intense, no question. But there's nothing in the Constitution that talks about a draft. Nothing. There's nothing about conscription. There's nothing about men ages 21 to 25. But remember, there is the elastic clause. And they said, if we go back to clause 12, we'll go back to clause 12, it says Congress has the power to raise and support an army. Okay? That's exactly what they're doing here in this is they are establishing a military that could be called up. And look at the date, 1940. We're dealing with World War II is brewing. We haven't been attacked in Pearl Harbor yet, but Congress and the president are watching this develop. And so they made the law that said we need to know that if something happens here in the United States, we have military numbers. And so my answer to this is to raise and support an army. I don't need to go and write this whole thing. I'm simply writing to raise and support an army, and my answer then is going to say Clause 12, because that's the power that Congress was given to actually carry out this law through the necessary and proper clause. So I'll do the next one with you as well. So if we look at this one, we'll do this one in a little orange. Congress made the Naturalization Act of 1790, and this set initial rules for citizenship for white people. Okay, so again, this one should be very self-explanatory, but I'm going to go back in my notes, and I know we talked about naturalization. So, oh, there it is. So I'm just going to say to establish a uniform rule of naturalization, clause 4. To establish oops, you can see I'm having a problem, an uniform rule of naturalization, and then I'm going to go clause 4, and that's my answer. So what you're doing with this is you are going to look at the law, what it says, and you're going to determine that this is not in the Constitution. None of this is written in the Constitution, but because there is a power given to them in one of those 17 with the connection of the elastic clause, they are then able to pass these pieces of legislation, and they're going to go all over the place. There's 40 of them. Will some of them be reused? Absolutely. We only have 17 powers and there's 40 choices. So of course some of them are going to be used, but you need to identify which power by constitutional language, and then in parentheses, which clause did that come from? I hope that all makes sense.